Welcome to Burnt Out. The Burnt Out podcast shares the stories of firefighters, emergency personnel, and other first responders around the world to create a pathway to save lives. The stories you will hear are real and may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. And now I'd like to introduce you to your host for Burnt Out, a 33-year retired veteran of the fire department, Skip O.
Sean, thank you for that introduction. We'd like to welcome everybody to the show, and also we'd like to thank our sponsors, Command Post Wellness, Turning Point Madison County, and Bridges of Hope, the Warriors Program. And also we got our good friend and co-host, the old guy, Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you, Skip, Peg?
Well, Jeff, thank you for coming on here and helping me co-host.
Yes, sir.
Our guest today is a good friend. I've known her for quite a while. She helped guide me, the business sense of me years ago when I didn't know what I was doing. She grabbed me by the hand and showed me what I needed to do in this nonprofit we started, the Fire Rescue House. I'd like to welcome everybody to Peg Murdock. Peg, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
I met Peg through Dave. Dave Murdock was on there on the fire department. Was it 32 years, Peg?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 32 years, and he was one of those guys. He was an old guy, just like Jeff. But we got to Dave through where Dave was introduced us to Peg. But Peg, you want to give everybody a little brief description about you and Dave?
Well, yeah. Dave and I were married 48 years, and we got married, and we had 2 daughters, and everything was good.
Well, good. I know your 2 daughters. I got to meet them. I'm afraid of the one.
You should be.
The one that was a Marine. I remember working down there with Dave, and she came by about 33 years ago. She came by, and I said something joking around, and she gave me that Marine look. And I backed off because she scared me.
Well, did she cock her eyebrow?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's when her eyebrow goes up, you know you're in trouble.
That's right. I really respect her highly. Well, we had Peg come on the show because Peg was married to Dave for 47 years, and Dave was on the fire department 32 years.
Yes.
And about 9 years ago, life can change real quick. You want to give a little brief description about a few months before that, your big change in your life?
Yeah. It was really hard, but I was retiring in March, and that was the plan for us to have some fun, after I retired. But before I retired, we found out Dave was having a lot of problems with his blood pressure, and they found out it was his kidney. So they went in and took a kidney out, but the cancer had already started going through, and it was a shock. I mean, you never dreamed something like that's going to happen to you. But it was hard for both of us, and we went to the doctor in Indianapolis, and that was a tough thing too, because he didn't have much of a bedside manner, and it was hard to go through this when somebody doesn't have much compassion. But the first thing Dave said to me when he found out he was really sick was, "I feel like I'm letting everybody down." I said, "Oh my gosh, Dave, it's not your fault. I mean, this isn't something you planned. It's not." And of course, he did not want to tell the girls until he had to. So we were going there on a regular basis to Indy to have him checked, and he wasn't getting any better. And then we realized we were losing him.
Well, Peg, I tell you that, but I know that was a tough thing to go through, and I know going back and forth in any stress. Did the fire department family, did they rally around you? Did you have your family support you guys?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's so blessed. the firefighters were wonderful. When they found out he was that sick, you can't believe how many of them and other people were at our house. I've gone to people's houses when their spouse is dying, and it's usually just two or three people there comforting them, which is fine. Our house was busy. There was somebody there all the time wanting to see Dave and talk to him. I have never seen so many grown men cry as they're leaving, but it was wonderful.
Well, I tell you, I remember vaguely that time coming by there and seeing him, and his spirits are always up. I never seen him down. I know he might have had those moments, but with us old guys, yeah, we still we got emotions too, and
Of course.
when we get around our fellow brothers and sisters, everything, those little petty stuff that we might have, it goes out the window. What I found out about Dave and the other fire department, when something at our department, we'd have our little bickering once in a while around the coffee table. People talk about this big gossip thing sometimes. But what I noticed on the department, when something bad happened, we came together. We all came together and we supported one another. That's what I noticed. But Peg, through all that and them coming over and helping you, and then going up the few days before Dave passed away, how was that? I mean, I know how it was for you, but how was the support up till then and afterwards?
I never had a problem with support. We were constantly surrounded by family and friends and people that loved us. And his cousin was there so much. They loved each other. And it was wonderful to see her there and the compassion she had for him. And I don't know. I was just kind of overwhelmed by all of this. Because we were my friend that I've been friends with for my whole life that lives in Louisville now. She just came down and camped. I mean, she was just there like she's always been. And other people would come in and out, but people were bringing food in, and Vicky was bringing stuff in from her candy shop, and it was, you just sit back and sometimes and watch it, and you can't. It's kind of surreal, You can't believe it's happening, but then you have all these wonderful people surrounding you and loving you.
Well, Peg, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your emotions, because I know it's probably tough to do. One thing that me and Peg, we talked last week, there's somebody out there that might have lost a loved one on the fire department, police department, and that was their whole life. And all of a sudden that's taken away from you. And that was your identity with your husband. Not saying you didn't have your own identity, but that was a big part of your life, was going out and doing things together. After that, Peg, what kind of emotions did you have, and how did you survive that? And then how'd you come out the other end?
Emotions were high, of course. My friend I was talking to you, stayed with me. Dave died the day before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day, some friends came in and brought a full Thanksgiving meal. They left, and they came back a few hours later and cleaned it all and took it away. Oh, who does that? I mean, it was wonderful. I couldn't believe it. And there was a lot of things like that. There were people that I knew but didn't know well that just dropped by to check on me. And Dave's best friend, Phil Isom, he was here for me all the time. And then he kind of weaned himself off, but he was fantastic to all of us.
Okay, Peg, when the dust settled, and sorry I'll use that term, and the people started, you're there kind of figuring things out, and you actually, go from that numbness to start feeling that emotion. What's some of the things that you did to get back into life again?
Well, like I said, my friend from Louisville she, I went to Louisville and stayed for a bit, and Sean was fantastic. Sean Neal was fantastic because we did some customer service classes together, and he was keeping me busy and active, and that helped more than even he knows. And it kind of got me back into life. But then I've never lived alone, and so after the day is done, and you come home, and there you are, and that was the hardest part.
Sure, I can only imagine, but what I've learned and what people have told me, and I have this: you got the memories, you got them in your heart, but still you got that emptiness that you got to fill somehow. A lot of people, they get it through going to church, prayer, spirituality. Um, for when you come home and you're lonely, when did that? What did you do? And I might be repeating myself. What other things you do other than your friends to get out of that loneliness?
Oh, I was very active in church too, and I had some wonderful church people, and I I just tried to keep busy. And the girls, my daughters, and I would get together and have them, but and neighbors, and then um, it was it. It was just kind of like a fog. It's hard to really remember how things were because you just go through the motions of life, and it's it's never going to be the same. And it's so hard to this day, and it's been over 9 years to get past things and see friends. And my friends always included me, but I'm always the seventh one, and it's, the idea that I never felt like the seventh one because my friends that I did this with always kept me in the middle. It was like they put me in the center and took care of me. Not long ago, we were all going to go out to eat, and I made reservations for 8 without thinking. And when we got there to the restaurant, the lady that was sitting there, she was, "Where's the 8th one?" I said, "He's not going to make it." I mean, to this day, I do that.
If Dave were here and you were sad, what was some of the things that he'd do to get you in a good mood or make you laugh? What's some of the things he used to do for you?
Well, I owned a Subway, and he called it the Bologna Store. He had nicknames for things like that. He just had such a dry sense. You know that. He had such a silly sense of humor. And I would think of the good times that we had, and the girls would talk about things that they remember about him, and our 2 grandsons. Colin was only 5 when he died, and he remembers so much about Dave, more than you would ever think. And of course, we keep him alive to him. And Justin is the same way. He remembers his papa very well, and it's great to see that. But it makes me sad that he is not there here to watch these boys grow up.
Sure. I know in my faith, in what I believe, he's here. That's what I believe. But I also believe he's here when you see these hot rod cars, and this is something Jeff, he had the badass hot rod car of Madison County. It was just cool. Could you just tell Jeff about this car?
He bought this 64 Ford Galaxy, brand new, and he had it when we got married. But when we got married, we decided when we went on our honeymoon
Oh,
that he
that's
didn't want to
nice.
drive it on it. So we traded vehicles with a friend, and when when we got back, his friend had taken it out and drove it and blew the engine in it. And so we had to sell it. We started out with, we could not afford it to fix it. And so, but when we were going dating, when we went to Frisch's place in Anderson that you go driving around when back then, and I had a Corvair. He was driving my Corvair through there because at that time his car was getting fixed about something, and he goes, "I can't believe I own the fastest car in town, and I'm driving through here in a Corvair." I said, "Well, the Corvair is working."
Get that.
And so, but it, through the years, he always kept track of where that car was. And I had bought the Subway in Applewood, and later he asked me, he said, "I know where that car is, and it's available. What do you think?" I said, "Well, you supported me with the Subway. I will support you with this." And he was so happy to get that car back.
I'll be.
And he loved that car so much, and I loved it too. We had a lot of fun in it. And people always stopped and looked when you go by. Of course, it was noisy.
Oh,
You heard it before you saw
that's
it.
music, though.
But
That's not noise.
oh
That's
yeah, it
music.
was a beautiful car, and I loved it too because it was such a big part of our life. And but that was one of his biggest joys in life was that car.
Nothing wrong with that. That's I wish I just had
No,
just one hobby I could stick with instead of several.
yeah,
I'd be a lot happier that way. Probably have a little more money too, but I just can't seem to narrow it down to just one.
yeah. One time he said something to me about, "I think you're just spending a little bit too much money on clothes, don't you?" And I said, "How much did you spend on the Ford today?" And he changed the subject.
Yeah, we call that as shots fired. Yes.
Boomerang, boomerang.
Yeah. Well, you got to stick up for yourself with these firefighter guys.
Oh, she's talking about you, Skip.
Who, me?
That's right. The innocent guy. There we go.
Well, got to be tough.
Reason we wanted to come on here, Peg and me and Jeff talk a little bit about it, is we wanted to come on here and share about the emotions that loved ones, when a firefighter, police officer, military person passes away, whether it's cancer, whatever it is, they're gone. And then you got to fill that void that in your heart and the time that you do together. So Peg was gracious enough and courageous enough to come on here and share emotions and just let it flow. And that's what we're doing today. Dave was one of those guys, Jeff. We had a little club at the fire department. There was 5 of us, and Dave was in there. Whenever it was somebody's birthday, we're on different shifts and different stations. We would gather, we'd call each other and find out somebody's birthday. We'd go about 9:00 at night, and we'd jump on that guy, and each one of us took turns whooping him. I mean, whooping him, Jeff. It was like I brought it down here from the ceiling, spanking this guy's. That's what we did. Now, Dave's a big guy. Now, there's this other guy. He might be listening to this. I'm going to be nice. He's a pretty big guy, too. But Dave got on him, and it was on. It was a brawl at the fire station 8. It was furniture flying everywhere, but we got it done. I got a black eye after it out, but we had fun, laughed it off, and that's what kind of Dave was. He didn't care what we did. We had fun. He goes, "Let's do it."
Yeah,
that's his thing. We're at the fire station. He was sneaky, very sneaky too.
Oh yeah,
I like that. I like the birthday thing. I'd have been in. I would have been in on that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
well, if there was something going on, Dave was going to be a part of it. That's for sure.
Now, Peg, I know Dave was on the fire department over 30 years. How long did he ride the medic unit?
Oh, I would say about 15 to a long time, 15 years. I heard something. Chris told me something yesterday about a situation that Dave and Shipley, his partner, was in. They were on a run, and there was a shooting, and one of the cops got shot. So Dave and Steve were there helping him, and then the guy, the robber or whoever it was came back out and was shooting again, and Dave and Steve laid their bodies over this man, and while the shots were going on. And we did not know this, and I didn't know this until yesterday. Dave would tell me some things, but he didn't tell me everything about what was going on. And some things, I had friends that had been in, an accident or something. They always said this. They said, if I saw Dave, I knew I'd be okay.
Now, did you say Dave, he kind of protected you? He didn't tell you everything that happened at work?
Sometimes he would, but some, and other times he didn't. And I think when it was very tough, he kept it to himself because it's just the way Dave was. He just had to. I don't know if he put it aside and didn't want to talk about it anymore. That's how he dealt with it. But yeah, I hear things every so often. But I thought that was, and then the family contacted Chris when they found out she was his daughter. They contacted her and told her about this happening, and they wanted to tell her how special, what that meant to them.
Yeah, I remember Shipley, his partner, talking about what they did after. It was like a week or the day after. I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time ago, but I remember that incident happened. I don't know the exacts, but I remember that part of it. They covered the police officer up so he wouldn't get shot again.
So, Peg, if I can ask, when you first noticed that he was holding some stuff back, not holding stuff back, but not so open with some of the stuff at work, yeah, explain to me how you felt about that till you realized what was happening.
Well, I would ask him, and sometimes he would share, and other times he just didn't feel like he wanted to. And this, I didn't. At times, I would take it personal, but most of the time, I just knew this was Dave, and you have to accept what he wants to deal with me and what he doesn't. But I respected that. And most of the time, eventually, we would talk about it and later. But he was not a very sharing person about stuff like that. He held all that information very close, and he would talk to me when he felt like it, and I knew he would. I mean, after you've been married so long, uh, probably when our first parts of our life together, I'm sure I took it very personal, and I would nag him about it. But as you get to know each other and realize it's not personal, that it's just him, I'm okay.
Peg, did back then? Do you remember if they had any peer support back? That's before my time, I think, when he first got on. Or did they have a way? Did Dave have a way to relieve his stress?
Well, I think dealing with his cars and stuff like that was a big stress reliever for him, and he had so many friends, and we did a lot of family things together. But he was so happy to be on the fire department. That was his dream. He was working at MG when we got married, and when he got on the fire department, his whole attitude changed. I mean, he was at his best because of that. He felt like he had just got the best job you could ever have. And we were all so proud of him, and he knew it.
Well, Peg, if somebody's out there listening to this and they're trying to find their way through these emotions, they're trying to fill that hole in their soul. Could you what would you say to them? You're trying to comfort them.
I would tell them to surround themselves with people they love and that love them, and and try to get yourself out. I also volunteered for United Way, and so that helped me a lot to get out. And one of the things I did was read to the little kids at the Impact Center. They were about 5. That was so fun, and do things like that. And you feel like you're giving back, but you're also helping your healing. The healing is a very slow process. So, and I would say, my gosh, it's been 9 years. Why can't I just get on with this? You can't, and you never will. So don't be hard on yourself. Just take your time and deal with it as you can. But surround yourself with people that love you.
Peg, I think a lot of people has memories of their loved ones. It means a lot. You can picture and smell the smells, and all that stuff that goes with those memories. But when you're going through some things, or and I always ask guests this: is there a slogan or a saying that keeps you going, that pops in your mind, that gives you strength to carry on? Is there something that you always remember that pops in your mind?
I guess the thing that I think of a lot, because that's what I think of Dave, is Corinthians 13. The love is kind, and it is true. Like I said before, if you feel yourself around, put people around you that love you, and walk away from the people that don't or are negative, you are going to be in such a much better place. I don't have time for negativity, and I don't have time for people that I know don't have my best interest in mind.
That's good. You got your boundaries. Again,
well, there are, no matter where you go, there are always people like that. And when I was younger, it hurt a lot when I met these people. I don't know if it's my age or what, but I don't deal with that. I don't have to.
Well, that's some good advice. So I got to quit hanging around Jeff, I guess, because I'm so negative and he's so positive.
I was thinking the same thing about Skip, and it's something.
Oh, there you go.
It's coincidence, and I'm really not a fan of coincidence, but yeah, Skip, this is toxic, man. This is not working for us.
Are you breaking up?
I want to say to Peg, though, thank you for showing what you shared with us today, and you're a strong lady, and you've done 9 years with this. I don't even know how I would do. I don't know where to begin with something like that. I don't. But hearing your story like that is definitely it's an eye opener for me as well. You don't think about that. It's not something we deal with every day, so we're not going to think about it. We're not going to do anything about it. Out of sight, out of mind. But thank you for sharing your story, though. I do appreciate that.
Thank you. That's probably the best compliment I could get.
Well, Peg, thanks again. Jeff, thanks for being on here. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening in. If you would go to Worldwide Peer Support, we have 3 support Zoom meetings, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays for first responders. Then Thursdays at 8 p.m. is for the families of first responders. So go to worldwidepeersupport.org. You can get on there. Or you can go to burnoutpodcast.org, and you can check out our sponsors again. Again, our sponsors is Command Post Wellness, Turning Point Madison County, and Bridges of Hope, the Warriors Pathway to Recovery. They're our sponsors for this month. So I'd like to thank everybody again for you guys coming on here. And also, when you go home tonight, shut your phone off, turn your radio off, and get some sleep. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Burnout. Burnout is brought to you by the Worldwide Peer Support. You can visit Burnout Podcast at burntoutpodcast.org or visit Worldwide Peer Support at worldwidepeersupport.org. Your host for Burnt Out is Skip O. Executive producer Sean P. Neal. And and produced by mypodcastmedia.